The Tower of Babel is a mythical story in which all human beings spoke the same language. They all got together and decided to build a tower which would reach up to the heavens. But when their God saw this, he felt that the people were becoming too arrogant. So in order to put a stop to the construction, he made it so that everyone started speaking a different language, and he then scattered the people all over the earth. And so it was that they stopped understanding each other. Today, many people believe that learning to speak a language like Chinese or French fluently as an adult is all but impossible. But Marianne Gullberg, professor of psycholinguistics, knows that it doesn't have to be difficult to learn new languages, and this is what she wants everyone to understand.
I hope that my research will lead to adult language learners gaining more self-confidence. It isn't impossible to learn a new language as an adult. And I also hope that policymakers will be made aware of this so that they can perhaps take other kinds of decisions concerning language education. Because it's quite clear that the future is bilingual. Bilingualism is not a threat, it's an asset.
The human language is the most complex communication system known to man. But how can we really learn a new language when we already have an existing one in place? And what does language actually consist of? The study of language has previously focused on speech and writing. However, Marianne stresses that there is an important and often overlooked key to unlocking a new language: gestures.
I'm going to show you one of my favorite spots over here on the balcony. I tend to hang out here and where I can spy on people talking and gesturing, which means I'm also conducting research. I've always enjoyed looking at people and listening to them.
Vacation in Corsica, 1968. It's sunny and warm and perfect for swimming, but there are no other children around who understand the 3-year-old Marianne. So she starts pretending to speak French and finds new friends. Her mother is a journalist and her father a photojournalist. At their dinner table, there are many discussions and conversations, and a dictionary is always at hand. After high school, Marianne went traveling and studying around Europe. As a student in Spain, she picked up gestures that her friends at home didn't understand. This made her wonder whether language maybe consists of more than just grammar. In 1993, Marianne started her PhD studies in linguistics at Lund University. Today, Marianne is the director of Lund University Humanities Lab.
Right, so I'm going to show you my favorite toy in here. This is an articulograph. And it looks like something a crazy professor of science might have built, but it's a tool that allows us to measure the movements of the speech apparatus. And that's very exciting if you're interested in foreign accent.
Lund University Humanities Lab provides access to a vast array of research technology and instruments. Using these, Marianne and her team are trying to clarify how language is processed.
We need to bring different pieces of a puzzle together in order to understand what the relationship might be between language, mind, and brain.
And here. Yeah.
One technique used by the scientists involves motion capture. As a person speaks and gesticulates, the movements are recorded with infrared cameras.
You get at the first intersections. And at the end of the street, you should find the station more or less in front of you.
That works really well because it looks very impressive on the actual cloud. Right? It looks like hands.
You don't feel it actually.
No, well, I noticed. I asked because I noticed you did this right when you were talking about the intersection. And I was looking at those two there, thinking, oh my god, you know, they're going to fall off, but they didn't. And they clearly didn't stop you.
Yeah, actually, I was not thinking that I have this. So
right.
Just
so that's good. That's very good.
This information is then used to create virtual speakers. With the help of these, we can see what characterizes gestures in different languages and how we can interpret them.
Allting här som vi ser, så att säga, hans handrörelser och kroppsrörelser i stort, de är baserade på de här markörerna.
Research has shown that we gesture in different ways depending on the specific vocabulary in the language we speak. For example, take the Swedish words sätta, ställa, and lägga. In English, one would commonly just say put for all three. A Swedish person uses different gestures depending on whether a mug is being set on the table or if keys are laid on the table. An Englishman usually would only point with a finger no matter what the object is to be placed. Even when we've learned to speak and pronounce the new language appropriately, we can still have a gestural accent.
Fyller vi upp det så här också med den här gelén så att du har en bra kontakt där.
Here, participants take different kinds of language tests, while scientists measure how their brains react to what they see and hear. What annoys a native speaker the most? Deviations in speech or gestures? Maybe both. What happens if the person they see on the screen speaks Swedish but gesticulates in French? The EEG may also reveal differences in language processing, depending on whether we learn a language reminiscent of our own versus one with a completely different structure.
So this is great. So she's actually showing that she is sensitive to ungrammatical structures in Swedish. That's fabulous. In her second language.
In her second language.
That's good.
Yeah, late acquirer. It's really nice. Hey.
The results that Marianne and her research team get will give us new insights into our learning process and what a language is made of. What Marianne has learned so far is that learning a language has very little to do with understanding its rules.
It's not necessarily relevant to be studying the rules of the language in a grammar book. That's not what knowing a language means.
Marianne believes that the traditional methods used for teaching language in Sweden are inappropriate, in that they focus on grammar and rules for writing, instead of focusing on learning to speak fluently with pronunciation and gestures, as well as understanding fluent speech. This is what we need to actually use a language. New methods for language teaching may deliver better results and even increase our capacity to learn more languages. Moreover, research has shown that our brain is cleverly put together, in that the language center can never be full. Language is like gymnastics for the brain. The more languages you know, the easier it is to learn new ones.
You fry the garlic, and at that point, when the garlic is fried, you put in the shellfish.
Language is speech and gesture, and multilingualism or bilingualism is natural. 20 years from now, many more people than I will have realized that.
And when spaghetti are al dente, then you put the shellfish on top of it. Then you eat it. And then it's finished.